All right, welcome into Sports Bit Betting Insight today, Tuesday, May 17th. Paulie and Teddy. Deep dive today is going to be the Eastern Conference Finals preview. Play of the day coming up. Big game breakdown. You know, we'll start with Eastern Conference Finals Game 1. Two big baseball games coming up. Little NFL and draft lottery tonight. All that coming up in a second. Oh, boy, the Warriors are in trouble, Teddy. They were 37-0 this season when they had a double-digit lead at half. They blow it. They scored 14 points in the fourth quarter. How about this? Spates, Bogut, Ezeli combined for 4 points. Curry only made one shot in the fourth quarter, and Durant was 10 of 30. Westbrook started 1 of 11. They still won the game, Teddy.
Yeah, that's the scary thing for Golden State, is that Durant and Westbrook combined shoot 33% from the floor. The only time Westbrook was a factor was in that torrid third quarter run. And the only time Durant was a factor, Durant had a pretty good first half, but during crunch time he went ice cold, and he missed, 6-7 shots in a row down the stretch of that ball game before hitting the one that kind of iced it for OKC. But when both superstars shoot 33% from the floor and Oklahoma State wins straight up, and meanwhile the Warriors' big three, they all shot okay. You know, Thompson played well. Green played well. Curry played well. They all scored 23 plus, and they lost straight up on their home floor. Of course, the bad bet here was anyone that had the over, and there were lots of people that had the over in Game 1 of this series. The 223.5 bet up as high as 226 on game day, and that was never really in play, Paulie. The over, a non-factor. Both teams shot okay. Oklahoma City at least got to the free throw line. Both teams hit threes. There were 42 fast break points between them. It wasn't like everyone got back in the break. And yet first half goes under, second half goes under, games stays under, and all of them with room to spare.
Yeah. Well, how about what OKC has done now? 3 straight road wins in San Antonio for 2, and they win Game 1 last night. The entire NBA combined to have 3 wins. The rest of the league, rather, combined to have 3 wins against San Antonio and Golden State. And here the Thunder have done it 3 in a row. Very impressive. And again, what more can you say about Adams? He was huge again.
Yeah, Steven Adams is really becoming the face of these playoffs right now for OKC. And I know Westbrook and Durant obviously deserve the superstar status that they have. But the Thunder last night, plus 18 with Adams on the court. Minus 6 without him. The guy's got 4 straight double-doubles. And as you mentioned, the Warriors' front court, whether it was Spates, Bogut, Ezeli, they all got eaten up.
No.
Adams and Cantor were the better low-post duo.
Now, I'm looking forward to the Game 2 adjustments in Golden State. I know they rushed some shots and had some silly turnovers, but we'll see how they react in Game 2 coming up on Wednesday. More bad bets. How about the Blue Jays? We talked about Happ. He'd been off to a great start, but he got roughed up. They bet the Jays from 125 to 135, and Toronto never had a chance in that one.
No, they got blown out early. At least if you had a Blue Jays ticket, there was no sweating because that was over by the second inning or so. Another bad bet. How about any under in Major League Baseball, except for the A's Rangers? Now it's a bad beat if you bet the Grand Salami over because there was no action after the Red Sox Royals rain out. But then again, if you're betting Grand Salamis every day, you're probably used to bad beats.
Yeah, how about a bad beat? Pat Dean took a bad beat. Explain what happened with the Twins.
Well, this is your classic example of why no serious bettor ever gives a shit about what a pitcher's win-loss record actually is. So this is what happened yesterday. Okay, Berrios comes in. He doesn't make it out of the first inning. 0.2 of an inning. 7 of the runs are charged to him. Team's down 8-0 in the first. Okay, so Minnesota rallies, and they come back to tie it. Dean pitches great, but then he gives up a run in the bottom of the 7th, and boom, he gets the loss instead of Berrios. Obviously, the guy came and pitched 5 2/3 out of the pen and pitched great. Berrios got lit up, but the losing pitcher, well, that's Dean. Tough beat for him, I guess, but one more reason why wins and losses when it comes to pitchers in baseball couldn't be less important for serious bettors.
Excellent point there. Before Game 1 tonight, lottery time on ESPN. And you look at the percentages here. This is running down the ping pong balls, the percentages. 76ers, 25% to get the number 1 pick. Lakers, 19%. The Lakers, 55% chance that the pick lands in the top 3. If it falls outside the top 3, they ship it. The pick goes to Philadelphia. So that's very important. Boston, 15%. Phoenix, 12. Minnesota, 8. New Orleans, 6. And the Raptors and the Kings cannot win the draft lottery tonight. But, how good is this draft, Teddy? When you start looking at some of these mock drafts, we know about Simmons and Ingram and Murray, but, Chris Dunn may be top 5. Buddy Hield could go 6. Maybe the Bender kid, top 5. I think if I land at a top 3 pick, I tried to trade it and get a proven player, maybe a veteran, if that's possible.
Outside the top 3, yeah. I mean, you want Simmons, you want Ingram, and I think you'd want Murray. Those 3 guys, in my mind, boom, that's where the lottery, where the division is between the top 3 and everybody else. But this is the truth of it, Paulie. We talked about this when it came to the NFL draft just a few weeks ago. Nobody knows anything. Nobody. Not the pundits, not the scouts, not the guys who are interviewing these players. Nobody knows because there's no way to know. How is someone going to react when they get life-changing money? Are they going to be just as hungry or aren't they? And frankly, there's no way to know that. And the guys that get the life-changing money and are still hungry turn out to be very different kind of players than the guys that get the life-changing money and, rest on their tail ends a little bit. No way to know. So, yeah, it's easy to see what these guys have in terms of raw skills and measurements and all of that. Figuring out who's going to be a great pro. It's not easy not easy. It's nearly impossible for the guys that do it full time, let alone for the pundits who aren't even in the locker room. And I don't get a chance to interview his coach. I don't know what kind of a guy he is.
Hey,
impossible to figure out.
It reminds me of your buddy Joel Embiid, who's as big as a house. The kid's an ice cube. He can't stop eating.
Why does that remind you of that?
No, because you said you don't know what a guy's going to be like when he gets life-changing money.
Oh, sure, exactly. Yeah.
Embiid's as big as a house.
But, that's the nature of the lottery. It's fun to talk about. And certainly the draft lottery, I think, has made the NBA draft relevant in a way that obviously it never was beforehand. And in theory, it penalizes teams for tanking because you're only getting a percentage chance. Whereas in the NFL, you tank, you get the number 1 pick. So I give David Stern credit for coming up with it. But let's be real. Franchises do change off of lottery picks. I'm not convinced that any lottery pick this year is going to immediately turn a franchise from bottom feeder into contender.
Football every day. Teddy, why don't you bet to win the national championship or the Super Bowl in the summer?
Well, there are 3 primary reasons or 3 primary reasons why I do not bet Super Bowl futures or national championship futures in the month of May. And, of course, they're all across everywhere right now. These are the reasons, Paulie. There's no reason to, there's no reason to, and there's no reason to. Season wins are a different story.
Yeah.
The season wins market is very active over the summer. Though odds to win it all, the future books, boy, those numbers don't change much between now and August. Information's going to change significantly between now and then. And, of course, the only time you might want to take a shot and lock up your money this early is with significant long shots, Paul. We're talking about 100 to 1 that maybe should be priced at 50 to 1 or 30 to 1. But, we've talked about this on the show before as well. After the 99 Rams, after the 2016 Leicester City team.
Yep.
The future book odds just keeps dropping and dropping. There's less and less value. There's more and more house takeout. And there is a reason that you're going to find future bets, the odds for the future book, prominently displayed in every single sports book in Las Vegas, right as you walk in the door over the summer months. They're for tourists. One might call them a sucker bet.
All right, very good there. Up next, big game breakdown. We start with the Raptors and the Cavs on SportsBit. Betting insight today on SBRPicks.com.
Research before you bet. Be sure to check out SBR Picks for the best game predictions, breakdowns, and much more.
Time for a big game breakdown. Double dose here with the Eastern Conference Finals. We'll preview Game 1 right here, and the deep dive will preview the series. Live odds go to sportsbookreview.com. Cavs 10.5, 201.5 the total. Tough turnaround for the Raptors off the big win Sunday afternoon at home. You look at this graphic, staggering numbers on the Cavs' three-point shooting in the playoffs. Kyrie Irving, 28 of 52, 53%. J.R. Smith, 50.8%. The Cavs, 46% as a team. Then you see the Heat, 33%. So Toronto's got to get out and guard these guys. Miami could knock them down, and Cleveland's been on a roll. The regular season matchups, the only game in Cleveland, Cavs won 122 to 100. They were 17 of 33 from 3. the 99-97 home win for the Raptors in the rematch, although the Cavs also 12 of 24 from 3 in that one. But Teddy, Kyrie has got to guard somebody here. Who's he going to be on?
Well, yeah. I mean, in theory, Kyrie's got to guard somebody. Of course, that depends on how Kyle Lowry and DeMar DeRozan shoot in this series compared to how they've been. But, you know, my biggest issue, and this is something you brought up in the intro right there, Paulie, it's a really tough one-day turnaround for that Raptors defense. You know, and again, they just faced a gang that couldn't shoot straight from Miami. You showed it in that graphic. Kyrie and JR, yeah, they've got this. And I think this has to be a theme throughout the playoffs. There is no such thing as a bad J.R. Smith photo. He's so much fun to talk about. And just a guy who's got a lot of personality that I enjoy the way that he plays, even when he does some bonehead stuff. That being said, you talk about the issues with Kyrie Irving, and they're pretty significant. You know, and number one is that Lowry and DeRozan, they're going to have to work on defense as a duo. They're going to have to stay out on shooters. And we're talking about Irving as someone who can take the ball to the paint and kind of punish his defender that way. So I think it's important for the Cavs defense here in Game 1 to be better on offense in terms of driving the ball in the paint and making Toronto's guards work. It's also worth noting, you mentioned 2 of the 3 meetings. You know, the one, the Cavs shot lights out from three-point range and blew them out, the only one on this floor. Mm-hmm. The one in Toronto, the Raptors won, but Cleveland also shot lights out. And the third one, Cleveland started Jared Cunningham. You know, no Kyrie Irving in that one. So it's one of those that you kind of throw out. But you look at the point guard defense, look at the real plus-minus in the NBA this season. Chris Paul's number 1. Matthew Dellavedova, the backup for Cleveland, he's number 28. Mo Williams, he's number 72. Kyrie Irving, number 83. There's only 85 players charted.
Wow.
So you really wonder, if it's a close game, who's going to guard Lowry? Who's going to guard DeRozan on the final possession? Probably LeBron.
Yes.
And not Kyrie Irving. But, of course, if it's a close game near the end, guess what? Cavs ain't covering this number.
Yep. Yeah, you're right. We'll get to the deep dive to get to the rest of this series coming up. Nats, Mets. Scherzer against Syndergaard. Mets $1.23, 6.5 the total. Scherzer off the 20 strikeout game against Detroit. 119 pitches, although 5 days off. And you look the last 3 seasons, after he threw 115 pitches or more, 9-2 with a 2.06 ERA. Shouldn't be that big of a deal, but is even the best pitcher in this game tonight.
Yeah, but, the whole thing with Scherzer, that is incredible. After throwing 115 or more pitches, and again, the market's knee-jerk against pitchers after 110-plus pitches. That's like the cutoff. And you start to see guys when they throw $110, $115, $120, the markets are almost always, going to be betting against them in their next game, a knee-jerk reaction. Look what Scherzer's done. When you have a 2.06 ERA in 13 starts after 115-plus efforts, you're doing something right. I give him a ton of credit. And, of course, I don't know if he's going to get another 20 Ks here. And he did get that extra day of rest. But, no, I don't think he's the best pitcher on the mound. Not when you look at Noah Syndergaard. When you build a model, all right, you want to say, all right, I'm going to design a pitcher. Let's see, what do I want? I want more than a strikeout per inning. All right, here's Syndergaard. Yeah, he's got 10.7. I want less than 2 walks per 9 innings. Yeah, there's Syndergaard. He's got 1.8. You're like, you got to keep the ball down, get those ground ball outs. Let's get more than 50% ground ball. So there's Syndergaard, 56.5. And, of course, the best pitchers are the ones that have better than 12% swing strike percentage. Syndergaard at 15.3. He's a prototype. He's as good as any pitcher in baseball right now. A very difficult guy for me to bet against.
Yep, and he can hit home runs, too.
Yeah, he sure can.
Saw that in the last game. Again, live odds, go to sportsbookreview.com. One more. Astros.
I'm going to bring up one more point here because we got to talk about Brian Harper, and Washington's lineup because they have not been able to protect him. And I'm starting to wonder if their cleanup hitter, Ryan Zimmerman, he's not slumping. Is this guy on the downside? He stunk last year. He's worse this year. And we talk about WAR, an NFL first baseman. Look at the chart right here. 12th in the National League. He's only ahead of Ryan Howard. I don't know if you can keep batting him cleanup, and I'm really worried. Not worried, but his struggles are absolutely affecting Washington's offensive production. Bryce Harper in particular.
Yeah, good point there, Bryce. You called him Bryce, right?
Yeah, why? What'd I say?
Oh, I thought you said Brian earlier. The former,
I could have said anything.
The former Twins catcher. One more. Astros, White Sox. $1.05, 8.5 the total for the White Sox. We asked our picture guy, can we get a shot of Keuchel getting roughed up on the road? He said, how many do you need? I mean, this has been a disaster. You look at, let's go to 2015 and 2016. Last year, 20-8 with a 2.48 ERA. This year, 2-5 with an ERA of 5 and change. And the road issues his entire career. 16-26 with a 4.50 ERA. Brutal.
Yeah, but I mean, this is what we've talked about on Keuchel. You know, there's a guy, the stats last year were phenomenal. The road stats weren't as good. This year, it's been even worse. The entire Houston team is playing without any confidence on the road. They're 5-14 on the highway this year. They're finding ways to lose games and not finding ways to win them. And you take away last year's hot start. You go back one full calendar year, we're talking about a team win probability added. Yeah, they're right there ranked between the Twins and the Phillies on the highway. That's where Houston is over a full year. That's not quite the market perception of the Astros right now, is it?
Bad. Just bad on the road all the way together. All the way around. How about Eaton? And you look at 2016 WAR leaders. Altuve leads the way, followed by Machado, Fowler, Trout, and there's Eaton. Look at those numbers. And great defense. Fangraphs rates him as the best defensive player in the majors so far.
Well, yeah. I mean, he's got a monster slash line. 303 average, 396 slugging, 421 OP on base. Or no, sorry, 396 slugging, 421. You know what I'm saying. He's got really good numbers. He's got 4 stolen bases. You talked about, I wouldn't disagree with that best defensive player in the majors so far stat. And that good D isn't just helping the starters like Carlos Rodon, but it's a huge improvement in the bullpen. Look at the graph. You know, 3 years ago, bad bullpen. Last year, mediocre bullpen. This year, good bullpen. Lo and behold, White Sox are winning games, and they're cashing under tickets. Bullpens mean everything, Paulie.
Deep dive up next. Back to the Eastern Conference Finals and the play of the day on SportsBit. Betting Insight today.
Go to SBRodds.com. Browse, compare, and shop live odds available at top online sportsbooks.
All right, time for the deep dive. Before that, we should take the Starbucks away from you. You did say Brian Harper. I thought that's what you said.
Yeah, oh my God. At least I didn't say Ron Harper or what, Valerie Harper. Bryce, Brian, my bad. Glad we caught it in show, so I don't have to do one of these corrections tomorrow. But yeah, the Starbucks, that was just iced coffee yesterday. I'm not normally a Starbucks guy. I'm a tea guy. Cheers.
All right. I still think there's something in there with the tea. All right, here we go. Look at this series price. Eastern Conference Finals. Play of the day coming up, by the way. What was 1,600, 1,700? How high does this go with the series price on the Cavs? And I like this. In some places, you can buy 1.5 over to win more, 1.5 games in the series minus $4. So the Cavs have to win in 4, 5, or 6 to cash the bet. So you could bet that series that way. But again, you look at the graphics here. Just like Golden State and OKC, it was up-tempo. Here it's the exact opposite. As always, points per 100 possessions, offense and defense. Offense, Cleveland 4, Toronto 5. Defense, Cleveland 10, Toronto 11. Rebounding percentage, Cleveland 3rd, Toronto 7th. Pace, here it is. Cleveland 28th, Toronto 29th. From one extreme to the other, this one probably will be, we know Toronto takes their time after milking the shot clock against Miami. But is fatigue an issue here when you look at all the games that Toronto played and the Cavs have had 9 days off?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many things to talk about here. Let's start with the series price. All right, when we talked about this series on yesterday's show, the Cavs were, minus 1,100 in that range.
Yeah.
On today's show, you're not going to find them less than minus 1,500, but most shops have them minus 16, minus 17. The take back on Toronto is in the 9-1 or higher range. And, of course, these lines vary so dramatically from book to book. If you are making this bet on the series price prior to Game 1, please do yourself a favor and shop around. Now, when we talk about some of the nuances of the series as a whole, I mean, on a tempo perspective, yeah, not quite what we expect to see in Oklahoma City Golden State, although the tempo in Game 1 for Warriors Thunder was not what many bettors expected to see. And, of course, Cleveland and Toronto, despite their slower pace, there were a good handful of overs, at least in round 2 of their series, thanks to some pretty good shooting. Now, you talked about the issues for rest. Again, the Cavs clinched versus Atlanta last Sunday. Toronto didn't even get to Game 4 until Monday night. This is the 8th straight game for the Raptors with only 1 day off in between. It's their third court in 5 days. And, of course, this isn't a team that's been here before at any stretch of at any point. They're not used to playing this deep, whereas obviously Cleveland was here last year, and LeBron James and many of his compatriots have been here many, many times. Look at the numbers. Playoff minutes. LeBron James, 310. Irving, 291. Kevin Love, 274. Kyle Lowry, 553. DeMar DeRozan, 522.
Mercy.
There is a legitimate difference in freshness between these two teams, even though Lowry and DeRozan closed out their series against Miami in style.
Valanciunas is out tonight. He's doubtful for Game 2. That's something to watch for the rest of the series. Now to the rust factor with the Cavs and all this time off. What did they do with this downtime while they weren't playing?
Well, we got to talk about Valanciunas, because we're talking about a guy who averaged 15 points and 12 rebounds, 55% shooting, a plus 39 in games 1 to 3 against Miami before getting hurt. When he comes back, if he's good to go, he has a chance to have an impact on this series. He has a chance to help Toronto steal a game or two. Although, boy, if you want to bet Cleveland on the series price, that laying a game and a half makes a whole lot of sense to me.
Yeah.
Are you sure about it? Because I haven't seen that. That's a prop I'm going to look for, because, the only way you lose that is if it goes to 7 games?
Yes, correct.
Or Cleveland loses the series.
Well, yeah.
That's one I want to investigate before tip-off today. I'll tell you that much. He's absolutely an impact player. But when you talk about the Cavs and what they did in between this long layoff, well, what'd they do? Gym sessions, and gym sessions don't keep anyone fresh. But strength and conditioning coach Derek Millender put the Cavs through a training session that Tyronn Lue called 4 quarters. That includes time on the Versa Climber. Take a look at this one. That doesn't look like a whole lot of fun. Tristan Thompson, here's his quote. "That was pretty tough, but I thought it was great for us because the players could push each other. It's great when all the guys are in the trenches battling that Versa Climber. We hate that machine. It was fun. I thought it brought us even closer together as a team. No matter how many times you go up and down or do 17 down and backs, nothing can simulate the game atmosphere, the tempo. That happens to a team when they have a couple of days off. For us, we've got to make sure whoever we play that doesn't kill us or put us too far behind, we've got to come out and kind of throw the first punch, especially at home." Here's my question for you, Paul. How imposing will the presence of LeBron James be in this series?
Well, huge. And the fact that I imagine they start with Carroll on him, but I don't know if LeBron has to guard anybody. And that he can be fresh when he can take plays off on the defensive end.
Yeah, that's the beauty of this matchup for Cleveland. Is that, look, there's some series you say the dog's got a puncher's chance and they got a fighter's chance. And if Lowry and DeRozan shoot lights out, maybe Toronto's, really, they got to shoot lights out. And maybe Tyronn Lue finally meets his match in Dwayne Casey here or something. But when you sense a matchup that LeBron is not going to have to really bring it on the defensive end, where he can freelance defensively and save his energy for the offensive end, Cleveland's not losing this series. What's the scenario that Cleveland loses this series? Everybody gets hurt. That's the only one I can think of. Do you have a different one, Paulie?
No, so there has to be an injury. There has to be an injury, and Lowry and DeRozan have to shoot like they did in Game 7.
Now, here's one point, though. I want to talk about the media in this series. Look what the news networks are doing. Okay, the news networks are doing everything they can to make Hillary versus Trump look close. Oh, this is going to be a close election because it boosts ratings. This series airs on ESPN. They paid a fortune to have it, and they can make a fortune if it gets ratings. It's a team from Canada, which we've never had in the conference finals before. But in general, the reason that we never see the Raptors on TV is because they don't get ratings here in the U.S. So what are we going to hear? You better believe they're paying those guys to tell you this series is going to be close, and you better watch because these games are going to be tight. This is a situation where the media has a vested interest in giving you disinformation.
Yeah, well, what do they know? Again, every guy on ESPN picked Golden State to beat OKC. Not off to a good start, but again, you saw what happened in Game 1 with San Antonio and OKC, so a lot of time left. All right, we had a rain out yesterday. Where are we going for today's play of the day?
Yeah, now it's worth noting that the Red Sox are still in play with the same pitching matchup. Now minus 125, unfortunately, after the rain out. It was minus 115 when we gave it out. And the fact that Boston had a day off that I didn't want them to have necessarily makes me much more lukewarm about this play now than I was yesterday when we gave it out. So let's go to a slightly different place today. We use Sox. Let's stay with the Sox. This time go to the White Sox.
Yes.
Game number 920, the Chicago White Sox get them at Pick'em. At Pick'em, the Astros have a Major League Baseball low 1 win against opposing lefties this year. They're tied with Detroit and Minnesota. Roden, 9.1 strikeouts per 9 innings. Better than 50% ground ball rates, and he's got the tools to bring a lot of upside. He's been flaky. He's up and down, but he's only 23 years old, and he just now is harnessing his stuff. Let's take the Southsiders, White Sox, minus 110. That's the play of the day for Tuesday.
Very good. Enjoy the games. We're back tomorrow. Later in the week, Preakness preview. We could have win totals in college football and bizarre stuff with Notre Dame football. We'll get to that. And, of course, the NBA playoffs, bad beats, bad bets on SportsBit. Betting Insight today on SBRPicks.com.